the Christmas to do. But once I've got that, then I'm up to speed. Yeah. Whatever you do by then, that's okay. Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Good afternoon, Barker. Welcome to the stream. Welcome, DD. We will hopefully be starting shortly, or in the next few minutes or so. Just giving time for people to get in, get drinks, get sat down, get themselves ready, and we'll see how this goes, I guess. Like I say, I will be doing a local recording of this as well, just in case there's any signal issues. And I've already said we'll get that uploaded because they want to do a transcript of the video after as well. But yeah, apparently there's quite a few questions in to be asked of the people in charge. And Rhino is going to be doing the MC stuff. He's going to be asking all the questions that they've received. At the moment, I would say there's probably about 50 people here. Who will be answering the questions? Well, there's Mr. Rawdon here, obviously chairman. There's Pete Railton. Looks like Pat Nixon's here. I've not seen Miss Cope. Barry Palmer's here. And obviously Dennis Rule is here from the club side of things. So we have 3 tables. We have 3 seats available, so 3 of them will be answering questions, but obviously Paul Rawdon will be the main one. Here's Mr. Rhino.
Say somebody's asked for a transcript of this, I'm thinking that's our mail. Send us a copy.
Yeah, I'll have a link to the hard copy, the video.
They'll get the transcript eventually.
Yeah.
Shall we get started shortly?
Probably an idea.
Well, I imagine what will happen as well is after this stream is finished and YouTube does its whole processing bit.
Yeah.
It'll have the captions, subtitles. It'll do captions and subtitles.
I love it when it does that, especially if it captures on if you're watching them. Yeah.
But then comes the real challenge. 65 to 70%.
It's like watching subtitles. When you're sat in the pub or somewhere, you've got the channel, the
That's
subtitles.
right.
I
That's
love subtitles.
I don't normally say this, but you're going to have to manually subtitle every single bit that was said during the band's performance.
Cheers, Chris. I'm at work whilst I can. No worries, John. Glad you're able to watch this. Like I say, I'm doing the.
How many viewers we got, Chris?
22 at the moment.
22. Marvellous. Are we donating some of the subscription YouTube when it comes to the club?
Oh, yes.
And make sure you get me good side. Oh, we've got microphones as well. I need that. No one.
Like usual people, all volunteers, one step back, and everybody steps back.
This could be a bit loud. Ooh, yeah. I need to turn it down. I don't need a microphone. The volume down on yours, please, Dan, doesn't it? Yeah, just as easy. That'll do. That'll do. Thank you all. Well, good afternoon, one and all. Welcome to this home game. No, I mean, I see some people. Sadly, with me, with Graham's absent as usual. BBC pay far more than this club do, obviously.
Cheers, Barker. Cheers, Barker. Appreciate that.
Good job with the lid on. Well, it's nice to see so many. We have had a raft of questions already submitted. Somebody has also asked for a transcript, so I'll try and write some answers down, but it could be a long afternoon, so good job the bar's open. If not, there will be 50-50 tickets going around at half time, or Christmas draw tickets from here. I need to turn it down a bit more. Right, so, like I say, it's nice to see so many people. It just shows how many people value this club. And we'll kick off with the first question. Paul, right, what brought you back to Grantham Town? You came back as manager, moved to director of football and then chairman. Did you always intend to become the chairman eventually?
No. And part of me thinks that when that phone call arrived in late June, July, I shouldn't have answered it. Oh, you want this one?
Yeah, someone. Oh, the pen.
Hello. Okay. So I'll just repeat that in case you didn't hear. Obviously, the football club contacted me late June 2023 with a wonderful proposition of a club with a low budget, no players, and nobody else was basically interested in coming to help the club. The club did speak to a number of people, but they didn't think that they could do the task in hand. And I've been involved in football for 40 plus years at all levels. I love a challenge, so that's what brought me back. Why did I become the chairman? Because it was painfully obvious that the club was lacking direction. It was lacking people with a little bit of vision for the football club, and ultimately at my age the dugout is not a place which I wanted to be long term, so obviously that's why I brought Louis back. And I remember some people sending some messages after we just got beat 5-0 at Belper, saying the club was finished, it was going to get relegated, etc, etc. And you know, we stayed up through a lot of hard work, but I will say that this season we have underperformed based on what we are spending. We are spending 30 to 40% more than last year, and we are definitely underperforming. So I hope that answers that question.
I think it did actually.
Can I ask you a question about that, please? You said that nobody was interested, and yet this room, when we were asked, was fuller than it is now for that meeting when that Sophie took. Yeah. So the fans are interested.
No, it wasn't the fans, it was anybody to manage the team that wasn't interested.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, listen, the fans are the club.
Moving on, what are the responsibilities of the board members towards the club? As from the outside, it doesn't appear that they do much to help the club improve and move with the times. I don't know if you're even in a position to answer that.
I'm in a great position to answer it. I think what everybody fails to recognise is that even though people may think that the board or whoever don't do a lot, not many people realise the amount of hours that are spent in governing the football club. And these people give their time up for free, and many hours are spent dealing with all sorts of things, whether it's lease negotiations, league problems, supporter-led issues that we've had this year with racism claims, etc. And the governance of football takes up many, many hours. And without those people doing those tasks, there would be no football club. And I think what everyone here needs to realise, a board of directors, however big or small, are simply here to govern your football club. That is what they are tasked to do, choose to do. This is a shareholdered football club, and there are many, many shareholders. So I think people kind of use the board of directors as a way to vent disappointment. However, without those people doing those thankless tasks, there would not be a football club.
Talking of that, yeah, one of the other questions was, are we getting anywhere with the lease or not?
Yes, many hours have been spent. It is due to, there's a report going into the council in January for their members to discuss. If they discuss it and those plans are accepted, it will then move forward for a vote, and vice versa. We will also have to have a meeting in regards to that, because it will come up some significant increased financial costs for the football club.
Fair enough, that's something we'll look forward to. Just going back with directors wise, so previously we've had 8 to 10 directors, currently we do have 3. What would it take for other people to be added to the board, and what is needed to become a director?
Shareholding, firstly, is a requirement, and obviously I think you have to have a certain skill set, and you have to be able to offer something positive in the way that the club is operated. Normally what I find is with, call it committees, directors or whatever, you basically just have 8 people with 8 different visions and spend many hours sat there discussing trivial matters. I don't always see it as a positive thing. But if there's anybody out there that believes that they can assist or help, then feel free to reach out. You know, it's not a closed shop here, you know, and if the club can be better doing things differently, we're all ears. But sadly, I don't think that there's many of those kind of people out there.
I've been in positions like that before, and I was doing accountancy, paperwork, and it's just numbers on a sheet of paper to me. Following on from that, yeah, we're going to the Corning Company's house, so one of the questions say it's about work behind the scenes there. What are the board doing to improve or further the club? Are they helping to go out, get sponsors, get out in the community, and do they have a target figure each month that you've got to try and bring in, even if it's just say £50 to £100, or is that all part of the commercial team?
Again, I think people are misconceiving things, because the board of directors or anyone that governs this football club should not be seen as individuals to put finance into your football club, because you have 280,000 shares issued at this football club, and over the years all that's happened is more shares get issued, money is spent, progression is not there, because investment needs to be put into lots of areas. But it's very difficult to invest in something when you don't own anything. We are a council tenant in a council building, so where is an investment? Because most investors want a return, and in football, very rarely you get that, unless you've got assets, and we don't have assets. So, you know, stop looking at people to come with the magic, you know, money. We have to govern the club properly. We have to make sure it's solvent. We have to make sure it's still here. And that is a bigger part of being a director than simply chucking money into a big void, which has happened for many years over the course of the club's history. And with the greatest respect, all seem to have failed. And that is why we are now currently in the situation that we are. But I will say again, it's not about finance. We've underperformed. And that is ultimately why we are, near the bottom of the league. But there's still plenty of opportunity to rescue that, as there was last year. So we're not accepting our fate. We work hard every day to change things.
Fair enough. In a wider, yeah, go on, Paul.
I know you're saying we don't want anybody coming in with money, which is what a lot of us don't want. But I think what the question was, that you sidestepped it, was, are the board of directors going out to generate the interest, to generate that income of money to support the team? And then he talked about the same. Which is that what the question is meant to beg. That's how I saw it coming across that. If there's somebody out there that can put money in, you don't want that. No, that doesn't work.
I think it's, hello, it's gone. Well, you got to give me a duff in here. It's not working now. Hello. Back on. It's gone again. No, we're all right. To answer that, Perlo, I honestly believe that it's everybody's responsibility to try and drum up as much positive things for the football club. I don't believe that it's down to a small group of people, it's to everybody. There's a lot of negative people that like to view things and to revel in misfortune and things that aren't great. And I also think that the good people at the football club, they have a duty to turn around and let these people know. It's not down to a small group of people, it's everybody's responsibility, you know, regardless. If you can offer something positive to the club, then bring it. Why is it down to a small number of people? It's not. It's all of our responsibilities if we want to have a successful club.
They're business people. Previous the business people, they've got the contacts out there bringing the sponsorship more than what, say, I have or G. They've got the contacts. We don't have that sort of contact. And why are we struggling to get people on the board?
There's no struggle. There's no struggle to get people on the board. Okay? If there's anybody in here, do you want to be a board member? Put your hand up. Shock. No one. Stop trying to think that it's the board. It's not. These people simply try to govern and help the club and make the best decisions for the club to enable the club to continue. That is it. It's not always about, you know, trying to find money for the first team. There's a bigger thing than just the first team. There's a whole club here. This club has spent a lot of money over recent years, and what did it give? Relegation, nearly relegation, with mouth-watering amounts of funds. It's not about that. This club needs to be built properly, sustainably, and investment needs to be made into things that generate a return for the football club. That is how you become better, not simply just by chucking money in a hole. It doesn't work.
Why panic in the season and get rid of the manager that had a 3-year plan?
The manager, and I will not talk bad about anybody, based on the resources that were available, which I've already said were a lot more than previous, we've underperformed. So, decisions have to be made. And I'm not afraid to make any decision. And one thing I will say is that we have a new manager, and he will be appointed on January the 1st. So, like I said, we're not here twiddling our thumbs. It's took 15, 16 applicants to get through over a period of time, and to make sure that we make the right decision.
So, yeah, so, well, that one, Paul, how long was it taking so long, and say it's taken time if we were looking at appointing a new manager? We've done it before ourselves.
It's took long because we've got to get the right appointment. We've had many people that have applied for it, and I'll be quite honest, many were nowhere near good enough for what the club requires. The ones that were good enough weren't prepared to work with the finances that were on offer, and so, you know, things take a little bit longer. But if you make the wrong decision, then, you know, later on down the line, you're gonna pay for that. I think what we've got now is the right decision. I think we've got the right person, and, you know, and again, listen, this has cost the club or the budget or whatever you want to call it even more. So, you know, we are. I know some people just see step 4 football, this, that, the next thing. You know, it's not easy. It's not easy. You go to Worcester, they've got 600 paying customers. We have 200-ish. That's the difference in, you know, levels and clubs. Grantham's as big as Worcester, you know, in terms of population. And so, you know, it's not a quick, easy fix. And anybody that's been a manager, it's a tough job. At any club, it's not easy. And everyone that's done the job has done it to the best of their abilities. But unfortunately, when results aren't going your way, you know, you have to make changes. That's the nature of football.
Can I ask you, have you got an appointment to the end of the season only, or is it a bit longer than that? No, you do it. Have we got an appointment to the end of the season only, or is it going to be longer than that?
I hope he's here for 10 years. You know, it's as simple as that. You know, we're not here to just get rid of people. We're not here just to make change for change's sake. You know, we want to win games of football. You know, we're as ambitious as anybody, but that ambition cannot be fueled to the detriment of the bigger picture, which is the solvency of the football club. And it is as simple as that. So, you know, we have to work within in the regions that we can. And get the best out of what we can. And I always want people to overachieve the budget, not underachieve. And this year, we underachieved. You know, myself included, I'm not hiding from that. But, you know, I do think now that we've got somebody coming in with ambition, that wants to do well, that conducts himself properly, that's professional, that's got 400, you know, appearances in, you know, league football or whatever. And he's you know, 37 years of age, which is a great age. And he's managed clubs before. And, you know, we've all got to get behind him and see what we can do. But there's no guarantees in anything. But, you know, like I said, whether we stay up or we don't, the biggest thing is you still have a football club. That's the biggest thing.
Well, thank you, Paul. That kind of leads on to this question. And so in the wider context, what strategies, processes have the current board put in place over the course of 2020 to grow and develop the club that the board can point to being successful in their aims and objectives?
I think one of the biggest things from a year ago or whatever it was, we had a youth section which was hemorrhaging large amounts of money. That is now running very well. It doesn't now cost the football club any money, and it's a growing section with its own committee which now report to the board in the way that it's run. So that was a big problem for the whole football club, which is now on a much better footing. So I think that is a real big positive, if I'm going to be completely honest. Secondly, I think Anna and the people that have worked at the bar have done fantastically well over the last, you know, 6-12 months. Pretty much, you know, doing more than what they really should be doing, and you know, that is the investment that's needed into growing that part of the business, which there is a plan in place for, because it's the most profit generating part of the business. And the football side of things, you know, at the end of the day, we will finish where we finish based on our performances. You know, but like I said, we're not sat here accepting where we end. We work hard to try and, you know, to make sure that we can stay at step 4. But if, like I said, if we don't, we've got to make sure that we are prepared for whatever's next.
That's fair enough. That's funny enough. You mentioned that. Club has been on a downfall since the Adam Stevens playoff season. How can we turn it around?
I think the biggest thing is you've got to stick together. You know, we're not going to fix things overnight. Like you said, it's been a decade of decline. But the biggest thing is that the football club in general doesn't generate enough revenue to perform in modern football. There's a lot of clubs out there which, you know, have much more income than we do. But you'll also see, as Walsall Wood is testament this year, that they spent the money they didn't have. now they're not here. And in football, more and more of those situations are happening. So how do you judge success, really? You have to operate within your means, you have to have a solvent business, and you have to have shoots for recovery. You know, and all of these things, you know, are being worked on. And the biggest single thing here is 2021, I believe the lease ran out. It's now nearly 2025. I've only been here in this role a year, and I think we've pushed it further forward than people have previously. So, you know, things take time, but we're not here, you know, not working to make the club better for everybody, you know. And sometimes, you know, you've just got to trust what's happening. And some of you might think that people aren't doing things. Some people might hear a rumour that becomes, you know, a half-truth or whatever. And I'm very accessible. I'll talk to anyone about anything, and I don't hide anything.
Thank you very much. So we have got Long-Eaton United on Boxing Day. So what mindset are you instilling in the players to ensure we go into the match with a positive and competitive attitude? Thank you.
It doesn't matter who you play, when you play. If you can't get up for any game of football, you're in the wrong sport. You know, we try to win every single game with whatever we can. I think Boxing Day we've pretty much got everybody available, which is good. Suspensions have finished, and you know, a few injuries have cleared up. So yeah, listen, we just we try to win the game, Riley, as we always do. You know, it's going to be tough, but every game is. So no, listen, you've got to be positive, and if I can sign off with a win, that'd be brilliant.
Fair enough. Tony, you had one?
Yes, please. When we had that meeting with up here about the finances, etc., etc., the club was going to split into 3 separate companies, and this place was going to generate on all the 3. The other 2 companies were going to generate finance into the football club. Is that still going, and is it successful?
There are 3 entities to the football club. One is catering, which is basically this facility. There is the football club, and there is the youth section. So yes, there are 3 going companies. They're all generating revenue, otherwise we wouldn't be here. But I'll use this as a figure. Our match day revenue from gate receipts, on average, is £800. Now, if you times that by 2 games a month, that's £1,600. If you've got 4 games in that monthly period, that equates to £400. So you can see what kind of situation the finances are. We need the support of the general public and people to support their club. If they want the club to be successful, then watch, come, you know, stop looking to blame anybody. You know, if there's, I think we did the non-league day, which we did and organised, and there was over 1,000 people here. Fantastic. So that gave me some comfort in, I do believe that we can be better, but we have to, that the match day experience has to be better. And that's not just based on results or what's on the pitch. There's a lot more that we can do to be better. And commercially, and that's not just sponsorship, it's everything, the football club has to be better. You know, if you look at attendances throughout the last 10, 15 years, even when you've been successful, they've very rarely broke over a 300 average. So this is not a new thing. This is a thing that's been here for a long time. So we have to work very hard to introduce the football club to the younger community. We have to be much more community orientated, and you know, we do a lot of things like that, but we need to do more. You know, so over the next 6 months or whatever, you know, we continue to go down that path and continue to try to generate people that, I will use the word, I want people to be proud of the football club, and I don't think a lot of people are, for whatever reason. But that needs to change from the top to the bottom. And you know, there's a lot of people that are very quick to stick the boot in, especially social media. And I think the modern era that we all now live in is a different era from when a lot of you guys started to support the club. Life has changed dramatically. And you know, it's very easy to hide behind things and sit there and type negative comments. But all negativity it doesn't bring anything. It brings division, it brings people that aren't, you know, who wants to be associated with things that are negative? Nobody. So if you're a positive person and you want things to be better, you have a duty to do the right things and to spread the right things. And everybody should come away from this place, for whatever reason, you know, and had a positive experience, regardless of the results. Results come and go, managers come and go, players come and go, directors come and go. There's only ever one constant, and that is your club. And that is it. And many football clubs are mismanaged, misgoverned, and basically just fold. And more are going down that route. So wherever I'm involved, I will make sure that, you know, the club is here. And you know, and I think that is success on its own merit.
Oh, fair enough. Talking of that, there's so many of these questions, I tell you. Yeah, post-match interview back in a few weeks back, actually. The caretaker manager, I won't name him. He's not doing a very good job. Oh, stop being negative. Quite the lack of resources compared to other teams in the league. Some of you just alluded to. So the club's in the top 5 of the league for attendances. So where's the money going? But I think you've kind of partly answered that question.
I think, again, where we are at a disadvantage to other clubs is to run a match at this stadium, and the supporters club know what it costs just to rent the pitch to play on. The officials is about another £200, £300 or whatever. You're not far off £800 just to operate a game of football. Other clubs don't have that kind of money to find. I'll also say that if we return a crowd of, let's say, 250, well, the figures don't add up when you've got £800, because there's a lot of complimentaries, there's a lot of, you know, free tickets that are given, etc. And of course, they're all counted in that attendance.
Have you counted season tickets in that when you say £800?
Yeah, because we have a set amount of season tickets that are sold, and so on average, you put that together with your match day revenue, and it equates anywhere between £800 and £1,000 on average.
So gate receipts in the season about what, 20k?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Moving on to that one then. Do we get a discount by hiring the pitch when we maintain it as well? And if not, what's the point financially?
I'd agree. But there's a lot of things that have been set up by previous people which you inherit. No, we do not get a discount as such, although you could argue the fact that the rental charge that we pay is for 2 hours, yet we might have the pitch for 3-4 hours. So again, I don't proportion blame to the council or anything like that. It is their stadium. They can rent it out to who they see fit, and I think they've been very good to the football club over a number of years, and continually are being responsive to new lease negotiations and things like that. You've got to remember, we are a private organisation, and whenever you're a private organisation, you have to pay your way, and it is as simple as that.
Fair enough. So if we have a wage budget of say 15 to 1700 £, which we've been led to believe from previous discussions, is that correct? If so, where does this money come from? Is it from sponsors, gate money, or are other people, shall we say, putting money in, like the groups like the Playing Fund?
Yep, there are a number of people, supporters that donate monthly, weekly. The Playing Fund that Tony's organised all have a positive impact. If the gate receipts are £20,000, then obviously we've got the profit throughout what we raise in the bar, and then we've also got the sponsors and things like that. To operate on, let's call it £2,000 a week over a 40-week season is £80,000, and if your gate receipts are 20, there's 60 to find. So you know you don't have to be Carol Vorderman to work it out.
Was on a sheet of paper to me. But talking of which, at the last Supporters Club meeting was highlighted that obviously Supporters Club finances aren't quite where they were forecast to be. Does the football club have a plan if the Supporters Club were unable to pay for hire of the stadium, buses, pitch maintenance, etc.?
It's always going to come to a situation where the Supporters Club will yield less finance, and you know that's based on, you know, we're all getting older, aren't we? You know, and times are changing. And again, part of the new lease negotiations mean that we hopefully pay a set amount of money for the stadium use. And that is, I think, slightly less than what we currently pay, but it will also give us some scope to do different things as well. Obviously, you know, the cost will go up, but that's where it all boils down to. The club has to be commercially better, not just in sponsorship, but in hospitality, you know, all sorts of things. But to get there, we need to invest in the facilities, repurpose rooms, and we also need to have people working for the club on a day-to-day basis which are not involved in the football club. So there are lots of things behind the scenes which we are putting together.
Fair enough.
Why can't we get lottery money like Arabians?
Oh, why can't we get lottery money?
Because we don't have a lease.
That's a discussion we've said before, and I know you've mentioned it, and certainly it has been raised before in the Supporters Club as well. Yeah, that lease always has been a bit of an issue, obviously. So until we do really get some control of that, unfortunately, there are certain things that we won't be able to deal with. And it's not just not just the football club. I've seen this in other external organisations, the same sort of thing, trying to get funding. So.
Yeah. Yeah, so from that conversation just then, you're looking at probably employing what, somebody like a general manager sort of thing, once the lease is sorted out, to oversee things.
It can't be at the cost of the football club, because the football club can't afford it. But for example, I employ a lot of people in business, and I can repurpose some of their hours to do certain things that I believe will be a benefit to the club. Whether that is centralising the purchasing that we do, whether it is looking after stock control, whether it is going out to businesses and trying to generate corporate hospitality client, whatever it may be. You know, I am fortunate enough to be in a position that I can do things like that. And I think that is a big part of how we can grow the club.
Where are we?
Ali.
Oh! Pet.
I've got those. No, I haven't.
There we go. Sorry about the stickiness, by the way.
Obviously, just a couple of things. Obviously, we know, yeah, the football's the main area. Yeah, change managers, teams, everything. But last few matches, whatever, we do really well the first 40 minutes, and then we fall down. Is that obviously, we know that training, so is that fitness? Because if we played 80 minutes, we'd be halfway up the league. Get to 90 minutes while he was up.
I think I've touched on this quite often. The fitness levels that were at the football club were not good enough. And when you're not fit enough, I'm not saying that the players weren't fit, they were fit, but there's a difference. And when you get into the later stages of the game and you're a side that is struggling, you come under more pressure, so you have to work harder, and it's that little bit of extra fitness that sometimes gets you through. Training, obviously, you know, when Louis was here, we were training at the stadium once a week, and so, but that came at quite a big cost. So one of the things that we had to do was, and it's always been a problem at this club, the first team have never really had somewhere that they can train properly. And so what we now have is a facility that we can. So we train twice a week and have done since Dennis has come back. And Dennis can answer this about the fitness of the players and stuff like that. And that was a big part of bringing Dennis back to the football club, because that's where he can, you know, really make a difference for us. And it's not that the players aren't, like I said, they are fit, but they're just not fit enough for the level that they're at. They'll get away with it, you know, a little bit lower down. But that stems from pre-season for me, because that's when you should have been doing all of that work. But different managers have different things that they want to try to do, and that's fine. And if it works, you don't have that conversation. And the big thing in football is, whether you're a manager, a player, or whatever, people look for excuses to blame somebody else. Oh, it's because of this, because of that. And then when people leave the football club, they tend to not want it to do very well, because they think that it means that their time was better. Ultimately, everyone that's been involved over the last 10 years, we've all failed in different ways, and it's just a cycle of events that can continue to happen. But if you don't change things don't get better, and you never know. So I believe now with Dennis and the new appointment, you know, we can, you know, hopefully look forward to better days.
Dennis or not? I think Paul's done a good job there.
Hello, yes, it's working. No, everything what Paul said, you know, I echo it. He's right in every single thing he said. Now, since I've been at Grantham, I've been here under 5 different managers. Okay, and a lot of you've been here as well, even before I came. And we've had a lot of success. And when I first came, was in a similar position as we are now. Yeah. Now, I won't speak badly of nobody, and I wouldn't. I spoke to Paul prior, and he said, "Look, we're willing to come back to us." Yeah, I said yes. I looked at the league, and do I think we're in a position to talk about just footballing, not off the pitch, because that's not my bag. Okay. On the footballing side of things, do I think we could turn the corner? Of course I do. Okay, and the biggest thing is about being positive. Now, fitness is a big part of it, because fitness comes in 2 ways: physical fit and mentally fit as well. They both go hand in hand. Okay, so we're in a bit of a rut at the minute, but I've been here for 4 games, and I can see the difference, especially in the last 2 games, regardless of how the results have been going. Like, even Saturday we lost 5-0, but it's different. Yeah. Now, players have come and players are going, but to achieve something, like Paul said, you have to change. Because if we just carry on doing what we're doing, and if Paul didn't change anything, nothing would change. So would we get relegated? I'd put my house in the sand, I probably would. But because there's players coming and the dynamics in the changing room, they are changing. Okay, like Paul said, there's a new manager coming as well, I've worked with before. It's a positive thing. Do I think we'll get relegated? No, I don't. Not at all. Because we've got 57 points to play for. We've got more than enough in that dressing room and 1 or 2 others to pull us away from the bottom. Okay, so all it is, you know, for us in the playing front, just be positive of what we're doing, because it's easy to be negative. It's so easy. Just be positive, and I've got no doubts we'll be all right. All right.
Yeah, I'll take it. On the lease, I remember when, firstly, welcome back Dennis, nice to see you, sir. On the lease, I remember when we had meetings and we were shifted off London Road, when that chairman was, the said chairman at the time, I beg his pardon, was Tony Balfe. We were moved up here by the council, and we were given, and I remember quite well, a 99-year lease to be up here, and it was said that the council broke said on a peppercorn rent. Well, I know I'm getting on a bit, but most certainly haven't seen 99 years. So consequently, what happened to that? Is that in writing? So why isn't it said no problem? Because anybody who was there, it was in the late 80s, we had a meeting at Buckingham and one at King's Hotel, where we were saying the design for the stadium, that was emphasised by Tony Bell, that we're here for 99 years, which is basically the same here forever. So, what has happened there?
I'd love to know. I would love to know. I've never heard of anything about a 99-year lease.
I can probably,
Yeah, go on.
because I was around at the time, there's never been a 99-year lease, ever.
You said though.
There hasn't been one, I can tell you. The longest lease that this football club's ever had is 10 years. That's the longest lease we've ever had. The first few years, we were operating just on basically a handshake agreement. And then a lease came along, and it was 10 years, and then it was extended for another 10 years. And that's what it is, I'm afraid.
So you're saying, well, the money that was spent by the council, which at the time was about £3 million. Yeah, was about, yeah, sorry, was about £3 million. That all you did with the agreement was a handshake agreement with the council, because that is not what was stated at the time we were moving. Well, we were forced off the London Road, because a lot of us showed a lot of concern about the fact that we were losing, as we have done, an awful lot of supporters who won't come up to the meals. Things like the buses were supposed to run up here on football specials, never happened. So, I'm not disputing what you're saying, Pat, but I think that's a bit lax if you only do it on a handshake agreement.
Well, it was a written agreement, but it wasn't a lease as such. You'll probably find a piece of paper if I send it for it.
Don't you love little handshake agreement?
It was a written agreement.
Yeah, no, fair enough, yeah. Like I say, but obviously that, in some respects, that's something that's a bit in the past, arguably, but again, you've had that written agreement of a lease, but that lease specified a specific amount. And others, no disrespect what Kev's saying, obviously he was in their meetings. I think one or two of us here were at the time, yeah. But again, what was said and what actually happens beyond that may be completely different. Oh, where shall we go? Time is it? Oh, I've got plenty, but I'll come to you in a moment, Tony. Oh, dear.
It's Christmas soon, isn't it?
It is Christmas, yeah. I've got a bit of work. Hard job. Right, anyway, well, we've had... I'll take it back to the board, etc. So we've had the same people on the board for, what's an easy one, this is. We've had we've had the same people on the board for a while, but we've always had a different chairman that always ends up leaving. Are you planning to stick around regardless of the season's result, or what's your plan?
Luckily, I'm quite a strong character, and I don't get bullied, harassed, listen to social media comments and things like that. You know, there's some professionalism that this football club needs, and it starts at the top. But what you've got to do sometimes is you've got to see the club with warts and all. And over the last year, people may think that nothing's happening, but I look at everything. And then what I like to do is arm myself with the information, and then I have to convince myself that it's worth doing, and it's not for, listen, there's no financial gain, we know that, but if I can leave the club in a better place than it was found, you know, and there's certain things, you know, we have had to service historical debts that other people have left, which we've done. So I'm not looking to go anywhere. I want the club to be as successful as anybody else, but I will say that I look at it from a different angle to most people that are involved in the football club, which have a general, they love this club, and it's a club that is embedded in their, in their hearts and their minds. I'm not. I see it from a different angle, and I think that that's better sometimes because you make decisions based on fact and clarity and not with the heart. And the biggest thing in football is that you have to make sure that you have a club that is still alive, because many clubs aren't, and what I won't do is, even Dennis's old club Newark, they were very close to going to the wall and folding, but I made sure they didn't. And then I handed it over to the correct person for that club to continue its journey. How long will I be here? Who knows? I don't know. But whenever I'm here, I will run it sustainably, properly, and without any incumbent built-up debts like other people have.
Fair enough. I'll have a beer break in a minute. Anyway, Tony, you had a question.
Yes, when you read the Grantham Journal, and a lot of people do, and say, well, how is it the under-19s are at the top and do really well, and yet the first team, which is supposed to be the cream of the club, are at the bottom? Can you, and people say, well, it's a different kind of football. Well, can you tell me why it's a different kind of football?
Because the under-18s, 16s, 15s, 14s, whatever, are all playing against the same age group. And when you get into senior football, you're playing against more physical people and more experienced people. And in all levels of football, there are a lot of good players in that football. And if anybody thinks that you can take an under-18 side and put them into a senior non-league environment, you will get beat 10-0 every single week. I guarantee it. So it's not about being the cream of the crop. There are some good youngsters at the football club, and the biggest thing is that we have to, I think over the years, the young players have been allowed to move away from the football club and they've developed into good players. So part of the thing is, and what we want to do, and hopefully the new lease will enable us to do so, is we need to get the structure from the first team down to the youth section with a platform for them to play and to develop and to get used to playing senior football. And it's very hard to do if you've got to rent a pitch out at a certain amount of cost. Then that section then becomes, it's just not, you can't do it based on finance, because the biggest cost is renting the pitch for them to play at. So, that they are part of the wider plans, is to develop the club. And, I don't think you're ever going to get homegrown talent from 1 to 16, but you certainly should get a couple every year through. But you have to invest in those younger players and give them the time. Just like giving Aston his debut at 16, I think that shows that the pathway is there, and it's always been there. But what you'll find in youth football is some youth coaches want to protect their players and they're doing it for their own self-worth, or they want to, be seen as being a great manager because their side's winning every game. You'll find a lot of people in youth football that are there because their sons are playing. When their sons get older or they depart, they then depart. So there's a very fine balance about getting the right people involved from youth football to senior football. But we certainly do need to make a much bigger effort in making sure that the better players, and that's an opinion, because I might think someone's great, you might think they're not, but you need to try to keep those players within your football club for a longer period of time. But when you only have one senior side, it's incredibly difficult to get them in. And if you're in a side that has, we've struggled for a number of years to put those young players into that, where some will flourish and some won't. And the other thing with youth football is when they get to 17, 18, their lifestyles change. Some start to work, some start to go to university. And if you go back in the history books of all the under-18 sides that this football club have ever had, I'd like to know how many people are still playing football. And I bet you I can count them on one hand. Because football, unfortunately, it's becoming a dying sport. It's not a flourishing sport as it once was 30 years ago. And that tells you, years ago, there would have been a Grantham Sunday League, this league, that league. There no longer is. Because people have more choice and opportunities in life to spend their time doing other things. You know, it's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, 365-day world now. If you want to get on a plane and get to, you know, the Far East, you can. We couldn't. We had 3 channels. You know, now they've got everything. And so the opportunity for these younger people, they have more options in life. We played football because we didn't really have much more to do, did we?
So looking at the time, I'm seeing a few empty glasses. Does anybody want to break and we can carry on, or? Oh, hello. There's one or two. It's up to you, we can carry on as we are, or keep firing questions.
Rhino. There's one here on the live stream. What are the macro and micro plans short term to turn the fortunes of the club around, both on and off the pitch? Short term being 6 months to 12 months.
I think the biggest thing is, of course, we just, at the minute, we want to try and maintain our step 4 status. And I think that is the ultimate short term plan. And then we also need, over the next 6 months, to put things in place to try and make the whole business generate more revenue. And if we don't do those things, then we're just going to be having the same conversations, you know, year after year. We have plans to develop certain aspects, you know, and we're not expecting it to be a miracle overnight cure. But I'll use an example. If we purchase our, food, drink or whatever, there are much bigger, better companies that we can purchase from, but you have to have certain credibility and criteria to get accounts with these companies. I have that, and I have done that. So in the coming months, we will be swapping where we buy our stuff from, example, and I believe that we can save 20% on that expenditure, which is quite a big contribution. We have things like TNT Sports in the clubhouse. Nobody really watches it. It costs us £3,000 a year. So when the contract is up and if we don't renew it, that's another £3,000 that we can obtain. There are things that you can do from a business perspective, to make things more profitable than we currently do. And all of those plans have been worked on and are being implemented.
Thank you. Talking of football then. From the fans' point of view and watching some games, midfield, we've said before, and been the biggest issue, even from the start of the season. And something you and even Louis never really brought in a midfielder. So, do you have plans to strengthen the midfield?
We have plans to strengthen any position if the player is, more suited to what we are. You can never really, talk bad of people that have played in those areas. I think last year when I first came back, we never really had a good centre-half partnership. There's always something in football that you're looking for, and I don't think you can always blame a position or an area or anything like that. We bought Brad McGregor back. He's been out injured the last few weeks. He's now back fit. Obviously, Bojan was here last year. He's been here this year. Didn't work out. We've gone and got the kid Karumba that played for Shepshed last year. That was a midfielder that came on second half, and I thought did really well at Worcester. So you're always looking to improve the side. And I will say that people that, oh, you go through too many players, loyalty, it's nothing to do with that. I bought Curtis Hall, the goalkeeper, to the football club, and I think he's been fantastic. And I know some people in some quarters give him a hard time, but I failed to recognise in the 1.5 years that he's been here how many goals are down to Curtis. You can count them on one hand. So, you know, loyalty is rewarded by performance, and if you're performing well, you don't look to change. But if you're not, well, then you have to. And it's like anything. You won't employ bad people in your business and pay them if they're not doing the job. You'd be a fool.
Fair enough. So what? Oh, there we go, Riley. Go on.
Right, so what positive messages can you share to reassure supporters that the club has a plan to get us back to winning ways and avoid relegation in April?
I think Dennis has already answered that, Riley. Yeah, I'll give you some context. You know, you need somebody to run your first team that has, and it's a balance. The guy coming in has got all his coaching badges. He's had 400 games from Conference North to League Two, scored goals in FA Cup, whatever. So he has an experience of a player. He has the experience of managing non-league football. He's played non-league football, and you know he has ambition. And when you put all that, you know, there's no magic appointment. I think over the years, you know, I think Martin McIntosh had great success at Buxton, didn't have good success here. You know, it's not a simple thing that you appoint that manager and everything works out. Some do, some don't. We have to be a little bit better in terms of preparation, and that takes time. And with what I'll say with modern or younger players, it's different from when I've played or managed even 10 years ago. They're very quiet, they're very reserved, their lifestyles are different. You know, we all were brought up, you know, after the match was as important as the match. A lot of young people don't drink. A lot of people now, you know, conduct themselves in, you know, and live different lives. And I think you need to have somebody in of the right age group and the right mindset. And the biggest thing is, and of everyone that I speak to about bringing them in, they have to know what they're getting into. It'd be very easy for me to tell a pack of lies to somebody to appease people, but you're just stacking problems up later on down the line. And so you have to, you know, and this appointment's not been made overnight. It took a lot of dialogue, a lot of talking, a lot of, you know, a lot of things. And ultimately, you know, I think that it's the right appointment and it's the right way for the football club to go. You know, we're under no illusions. It's going to be difficult and tough, but if we, you know, if we stick to what we can do, there's enough points there. But again, you always finish where you deserve to finish, regardless of who the managers, players, whoever it is. But the single most important thing is you still have a football club. And even if you get relegated, then you need to make sure that you're prepared for that division and you're prepared to have a much better time in that division. And I know of lots of clubs that are 1 level below, 2 levels below, that operate on much bigger financial packages than we do. And many clubs throughout history have a lot of money thrown into them. They climb the pyramid, and then all of a sudden they hit a ceiling point where their money is no longer bringing them success. They then decide that enough's enough, and what they've built is destroyed and gone overnight. That's not what you want, or I want, or anybody that's involved in the football club wants. You know, you have success, you have failure. That's sport.
When I shop in Morrison's, I always want the cheapest deal, but with my football club it's slightly different now. Some fans maybe want to pay the minimum amount on the admission prices, but we're now paying, it's £10 in this season. It was £10 in 2012, 2012, so the prices haven't gone up in In 12 years, we've had some stonking inflation in that time, so in real terms, we're paying less than we've done for 20 odd years. It's about high time next season the prices went up if we're really struggling for cash.
I think you have to, you can't, you know, there are people out there with more, there's people out there with less. And I think it's a fine balance, you know. The admission prices, yeah, they haven't gone up, but I do think that we want more people here, not less. And I think by putting prices up all the time, discourage people from coming.
Not doing it all the time.
I know,
It's like
yeah.
12 years, it's still
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah, you know, obviously I can't speak about the past because I wasn't here. At this level of football, I think what we charge is pretty much what a lot of clubs charge.
It is, but there's a few charging 12 quid in this league.
Away games have been to seniors and services.
You pay £9 for that.
It's 12. Wellingborough was 12 quid, Corby was 12 quid, I think there's somewhere else that's 12 quid.
Yeah, listen, we always take a look at it, but we try to offer the best value that we can. You know, we're not here to, you know, make it an unaffordable day.
I get that. I get there's a trade-off, but I just kind of think, you know, if you did it in real terms, it's less now than any time it's been in 20 years.
That's a fair point. We'll put it up then.
We'll increase it as we get to the end of the season.
I would say it's an easier sell when you're doing well to put the prices up.
Here we go. I think we could do an improvement bonus sort of thing. If we get a couple of wins together, we'll put prices up by a couple of quid.
I've been asked to ask this, not me. Will the new manager bring his own backroom staff in? And I've been given 2 names to ask who the manager could be.
No, I think the new manager is Nathan Arnold. Dennis has worked with him before, and I think obviously the backroom team are already here. You know, there's not too much to change, but we need somebody that has the time to dedicate to do the role justice, and that's a big factor. And he would have loved to have been here today. He would have loved to have taken the Boxing Day game, but he's away with his family, so you know, which is fair enough. But yeah, we speak often. All of us do. You know, we speak about players. We speak about all sorts of things, and you know, obviously there's lots of footage for games and lots of things to be seen. I've told him to watch them muted, so it doesn't put him off too much. But he's looking forward to it, as I am, because you know, Nathan's a good person, and I think that is as big a thing than anything. And like I say, he's professional, and yeah, we're excited, and hopefully, you know, we can turn it around.
There you go again.
We've been at most games this year compared to previous season. One of the things I've noticed, apart from the fitness level, is confidence. I've seen players pulling out of tackles, not quite going for a ball, just holding themselves back more. Any ideas?
Can you hear me? Yeah. Like I said, the league don't lie. Okay, and like I said, certain things what you'll look at, saying players pulling out of tackles and everything else. When you're down the bottom in any level of football and you can't win the game like they win an argument, then everything becomes a challenge. It's human nature. Yeah. But the players we're talking about, we train, we do everything, and all I can say is from the time I've been here, okay, and a few supporters already told me they can see a difference already. I'm not saying it's all down to me, it's not. Because what a lot of people don't realise, the amount of work Paul does, who sat next to me, he's a chairman, he's managing, he comes training, he does stuff away from the ground, okay? So, you know, we work with what you got, okay? You work with what you got. But on the playing side of things, as we've already mentioned, Nathan's been coming in. I've worked with Nathan. His attention to detail is spot on. Okay. Now, like Paul said, he's young. Okay, he's just come out of full-time football. He's managed clubs. We've had promotion. We went to Newark. Me and Nathan did. Yeah, so he'll have his own ideas. So when it comes down to players, naturally, a new manager comes, new players will come. Okay, so it's a collective thing. It's a collective thing. So the players at the minute, they are working hard, but there will naturally be changes. Are you backroom staff? I work with Nathan. Nathan's probably got other ideas to bring other people in. Yeah, that's why he's a manager. So there will be a different approach to where we play at the minute. The formation might change, but we'll do everything for the right reason. They get us results so we can stay in this league. Okay, and Nathan I think is a brilliant appointment, and he really is he's a good manager for his age as well. His knowledge of football is second to none. Does that answer your question, mate?
What I'm saying is, like we've seen players pulling out of tackles and not taking their chances. Well, I get the confidence.
Yeah, confidence comes with winning. Confidence comes with winning. When you're winning, everything does naturally, it happens. But when you're struggling, it's all about self-confidence. It's like a good striker. It bangs one goal in, next week it scores another one, then it goes all the way through the team. So as management, we play part of that. Well, of course we do. Because if we go in there and we're negative, that has an effect on players. And even when the players come up here, if everyone's negative about it and you've had a bad game, yeah, of course it affects you. Paul mentioned it right at the beginning. You've got to be positive what we're doing, but the players you're talking about, will they be pulled out of tackles in the next couple of weeks? No, they won't. Because physically, they are in a better place than they was probably a month ago. Mentally, they're in a better place. Okay.
All right.
So, talking of players, so this came as two separate questions, but it can go into one. So obviously we're pre-season. Me and Harry have been placed on contract, I believe, for the season, and obviously, however, given his aforementioned responsibilities, I would say put my teeth in, but ain't got one. Why is the contract player being loaned out? And then the other question, which more merges into it, is what's the plan for him when his loan at Lincoln's up?
I don't think Harry has played enough football, so we're not going to get the best out of Harry if we just continually just sit him on a bench. The beauty of a contracted player is he can go out on loan, go and get minutes, go and play, and his loan ends, I think, after today, and then he's back with us. And hopefully then we've got a player that has played, 200, 300, 400 minutes, gets a bit of confidence, and then he's available for selection. Or do we just sit him on a bench and just, try to play him as and when? Every decision is made with thought and process. It would have done him well to go out and play in a side which is challenging at the right end of the table, and hopefully, he comes back and he's fully refreshed and ready to play for us.
Both of those, yeah. I've got one regarding Louis. I mean, I don't know, it's worth asking this question or not. It was sent as a genuine question. Yeah, go on then. So obviously it was announced that Louis would take over the role of head coach. What did the current board see as the 7 games he managed at Step 5 for Hucknall? Which is basically 2 draws and 5 defeats. That they thought he had earned a chance to manage higher up the pyramid, and then what was the interview process, how many other candidates were spoken to, interviewed, etc. in that little period between Steve Kirkham standing down and obviously Louis being appointed.
I'd worked with Louis at Sleaford for a short time, and I was impressed with how he delivered the coaching. I was impressed with how he managed the dressing room, and he was young, hungry, and this is his hometown club, and he wanted to do well, like we all wanted him to do well. And I don't think you can question the decision, because ultimately he kept us up, and then earned the right to have this season to do it the way that he wanted to do it. And there's nothing wrong with that. And like I said, there's no you know, I hope that anyone that's been here has a positive experience. And let's say Nathan's a success and he gets an offer or something high, I'll shake his hand, because if he's done well, we've done well. That's football. And I wish anybody the best. You know, sometimes things don't work out for whatever reason. But no, I don't think you can question the appointment, because the facts are there in black and white. We went on a fantastic end of season run and we stayed up, and that was the criteria of the job. You know, and that's that. But you know, you'll find in football that sometimes things change. You know, results don't go your way. You know, the progression of the team maybe wasn't as good as perhaps it could have been. But you know, everybody that takes the managerial role, generally, you know, they do it to the best of their abilities and intentions. So no, I disagree with anything like that. There's a lot of players that play lower down that are good enough to play at this level. So because they've not got experience or they haven't played the level, should we not try that then? I think that's a bit of a silly question, to be honest.
Fair credit, there was all anonymous questions, so I've no idea who submitted them. Talking of football style, we've probably kind of already alluded to it. You have an issue, obviously. A managerial appointment will change the situation somewhat, but obviously, what was the plan at the start of the season? We were told it was to build a team that was strong and could develop, even if it meant potential relegation, as we knew the budget wasn't the best competitively. There will be a 3 to 4 year plan to rebuild. Was that correct at the time, and if so, what's changed? But on that, I think you have alluded, obviously, new manager will now come in, new ideas, but obviously there is still will be a plan in place somewhere.
Again, I disagree with those points. You always have to have a plan, but if the results aren't going... the biggest thing that we have at this football club is the level of football that we play at. That's what kind of just gives us that little edge over, you know, many other clubs. You can always have plans, but I will categorically state, and I've already stated it, we put more resources into this football club and the first team this season than the previous one. And why we weren't, you know, saying we want this, that, and the next thing, what the criteria was a good, solid debut season away from relegation. And unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. I think people kind of looked at a couple of FA Cup wins and thought, oh, everything's great. It wasn't. We beat a couple of Step 5 sides narrowly. The strength of the side, for me, was not there. They weren't fit enough. We tried to play an attractive style of football, nothing wrong with that. But ultimately, when you're given the resources, then you have to perform. And regardless who the manager is, you should never ever set anything up to say, well, we'll accept if we go down, but it's a plan. The plan is never to get relegated, because it's harder to get promotion than it is to stay up. That is fact. So, you know, changes have to be made, and it's as simple as that. And ultimately, I did exactly the same at the same stage last year when I stepped up and brought Louis in. You know, and it worked, so fantastic. I don't think this season, like I said, we've underperformed. Performances were, you know, we might have got the odd win, but other than that, I didn't see anything changing dramatically on the pitch. It was kind of the same people doing the same things, ending in the same results, and I do think that the physicality of the side was nowhere near where it should have been. You know, and ultimately, you have to try to stay at the level that you're at, because you know that's what it's about.
Yeah, well, thank you, Paul. Talking of the playing style, current style of football, one or two saying it's one question here is it's not enjoyable to watch, and what after playing on the ground football? Previously the results weren't there, but it was still interesting to watch. Well, they weren't there, but that's why we got into the situation we did. Again, obviously a change of new manager coming in will have his own style and different way of wishes play, but is there any planners currently, it's a bit short term now, I know, plan on changing the style of play so it's more based?
Again, I disapprove the question, because ultimately when you have the ball at your feet as a player, it's your responsibility to make the right choice. Nobody is ever told to just aimlessly boot a ball up the pitch. That's a player's choice. We always say, if there's a positive pass on, play the pass. You know, it's the decision making of the individual at the time. So again, you know, people have opinions. Sam Allardyce, he was rubbish, wasn't he, because he played long ball, but he was very successful. There's no such thing as long ball football. It's playing the right ball at the right time. And that is just down to the individual player that's in possession. And when you're not doing very well, people will try to look for any excuse. You know, you should play whatever style, whatever way you can to win, because football is about winning, nothing else. If we're sat here top of the league and it's boring and we've won 1-0, people would still moan. So it's kind of irrelevant, isn't it?
True. We've seen enough of those over the years, some of us have. So you've already kind of alluded to it, and on about step 5 down to UCL, and I remember a conversation I had, and I won't name the individual, but 2-3 games into the end of last season, Liverpool away, and there are those that say we're already plotting then for step 5 football. And in fairness, we've been lucky not to be relegated to the lower, to step 5 UCL, whatever, over the last few years, but people say that we, supposedly the sport, the club, say that we won't survive if we drop to step 5, but if we do, the fans will still turn. Paul mentioned it, fans, and you said yourself, fans will still turn up. So why aren't people scared of step 5 football?
I would be more scared of not having a football club. That's it. You know, you play at the level you deserve to play at. We've all got a ceiling point. We've all got, you know, a level of finance, fan base, call it what you like, of where you sit. And I don't understand this clamour about, oh, you know, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. Listen, we're all alive, aren't we? We're all breathing. What's up? You know, football's football. You know, the biggest thing is you've got a club. And if you haven't got a club, then what?
Fair point. Talking
Quickly again.
There we go.
From the stream, this is probably a good follow-on actually from what you've just asked. Are plans in place for if the worst happens and the club is relegated? Is relegation considered purely as a negative, or is it seen as a good chance to reset and get the club in order again?
It's not about planning for this, planning for that. You know, there's only 2 things you can plan for in life. One is death, and the other's taxes. That's it. Everything else that happens is up for, you know, discussion. The main thing is there's still a football club, regardless of what level you're playing at. I don't think it would dramatically change the income streams of the football club. But I will say that there's 7 or 8 sides in the division below that operate much more successfully in terms of revenue than we currently do. So if people think getting relegated is something that's going to lead to success and reset yourself, you're sadly mistaken. There's clubs at step 6 which have phenomenal budgets for the level that they're at, and fan bases. You know, every level of football is tough. There's always clubs with more, there's always clubs with less. But if you run your club properly, if you make it a positive environment, if you make it a place that people want to come, then that gives you a greater chance of success. And there's a lot that we can do that's not just based on the pitch, it's also off the pitch, which I think kind of gets neglected. You know, so listen, we will end up where we end up, but you know, all we're doing at the minute, we're planning for Boxing Day, and then after that we'll plan for New Year's Day. And then after that, we'll plan for the next one. You know, and that's it. And we'll continue to try and ply our football trade at the highest level that we can for as long as we can. You know, we're not sat here just thinking, oh, it's doom, it's gloom, we're going to get relegated, oh, we'll have to play this team, that team. Listen, there's teams we're playing this year that you never would have dreamt of playing. You know, sometimes you just got to hang around long enough for good times. Don't know when they're going to come, but hopefully soon.
They're on the way.
Never comes soon enough, can it? Next year, Rodney.
Can I just do, obviously, yeah, we've got a good forum here of supporters and yourselves, whatever. Thank you very much, obviously, for your time. I'm sure getting to the end of the question. But we've got a great opportunity here as well. The club has been going 150 years. There is not many clubs out there. And with the supporters club, again, like obviously with the board and everybody, put a lot of their own time in. We have purchased, I'm pinching your spot in a minute, we have purchased a membership coin for 100, it's £25. They are not selling. 150, they'd sell easy for your club. Get in your pocket, get one of those bought. That'll help the supporters club, help the club, as well as get resources in the new year with our new manager.
I bought one.
I've got a dig deep in my pocket there as well. And there are a couple that will be up. Just on that then, I was going to allude to certain things with the club, but you mentioned 150th anniversary, yeah? I said, no, well, I thought there aren't that many clubs that can say that as well. So we are meant to be this big club, I don't know where that comes from, celebrating the 150th year this season, but we've not really done anything to celebrate. Is anything being planned which would generate revenue?
I think when Alison says that you're struggling to sell the coins, it tells you everything, doesn't it? You know, we can plan, we can organise, we can do whatever, but people have to support it. Otherwise, you're just picking up another cost. You know, I've spoken personally to lots of professional football clubs and things like that. You know, and I'm still hopeful that something will come, but it may be at the end of the season or next pre-season rather than this one. You know, people aren't just sat there, you know, like I said, twiddling thumbs, but we're in a world where it's completely different. Not a lot of people want to help. It's almost like the age of hate. People love to hate, people love to, you know, spread malicious rumours, comments, or whatever it may be. You know, but like I said, been there, seen it, got the t-shirt.
Fair enough. I'm involved in another organisation away from football, and obviously they're celebrating their 50th anniversary this year, so they actually applied to a venue, the venue that the organisation was formed in the town. Can we have a celebratory event? Oh yeah, that's not a problem, you can have that. It will cost you £600, by the way, because you're hiring it as an individual, same as it. On that note, there was, this was originally a question, but obviously there was a recent karaoke event up here, celebrating somebody's birthday. Well, the question really, what did the board consider more important? What I will say, the comment on this was that the karaoke was actually paid for by individuals at that event who opened it to a wider audience of football club members. So, arguably, that wasn't necessarily the board or the club's responsibility. But it does then lead on to what sort of support does the football club show the supporters club? Because when we've had events up here, they don't see many representatives from the board side often, arguably.
Yeah, I think, like I said, we can all do more, can't we? You know, I do think that sometimes things are maybe not communicated quickly or early enough. Sometimes events are just thrown together, you know, without much thought process about the dates, the timing and stuff like that. You know, we have tried all sorts of things, and, you know, Anna's put bands on, this on, that on. You know, people do try, but, you know, people tend not to support things, don't they? I think that's the crux of the matter. Everybody can give you negative things from behind, but ultimately there's not, you know, there's plenty of talkers, but not a lot of people walk. And I think this football club needs more walkers. You know, if they want it to be a success. You know, like I said, it's an open door for anybody. You know, and if you're positive and you want to get involved in doing anything, then great. You know, it's not a dictatorship here, is it? You know.
Let's leave it at that point. Talking of the club, there's a couple of things. One, do we think the stadium is too big for us? Would we be better off finding somewhere similar to Harrowby, for example? Sorry, I swore. More autonomy or control around facilities, which we've kind of alluded to the event. And obviously, one of the supplementary questions that came on earlier was obviously that the council don't help us in that respect to a point. Would they want to get rid of the stadium, not the club, the stadium? Specify, makes it differentiate there, so they can build houses on it for money, income. It brings it back to generating income. So, but essentially, could we do with somewhere a little smaller that we have more control over?
I don't think it's about control. You know, the stadium has its pitfalls, but it also has positive things. If you've got, you know, let's say a Harrowby situation, they have to apply for funding, they have to fund some of that cost themselves to get their facilities ground graded for whatever level they get at. So we don't do it. You know, we've got a ground that is graded for, you know, whatever league we're in, and maybe even a few leagues higher. So that's a positive thing. Is it too big for the current footfall that we get? Yes. I think the athletics track is never something that, you know, football lovers want to see. But ultimately, there's many clubs out there with running tracks. Goole, Bradford Park Avenue, Gateshead. You know, it doesn't really matter, does it? You know, I think we're fortunate to have this big stadium and the facilities that we've got. We need to maximise the potential that they can offer us. You know, so yeah, you can look negative or positive on anything, but you know, no one's going to come out and magic us a piece of land up, are they?
Fair enough, and that's a discussion I'd had with all the people during matches. We have this discussion downstairs, is that, you know, well, the council's not going to readily do that when they say, well, you've already got a stadium here.
I will say that my negotiation talks with the council are not looking to remove anybody. This is a community asset. It's a facility for hire for, you know, the athletics use it. It's used on other events and stuff like that. There is a covenant on the land which is for sporting provision. So, you know, it's got nothing to do with that. At the end of it, I think you were right, things have gone up. And even for the council, you know, their energy costs, everything goes up. And ultimately, you know, whenever you know, if you've got a mortgage on your property and the rate that you pay today won't be the rate you're going to pay in a year's time, you know, because things go up and go down. And part of the lease negotiations are, it's a 15-year lease, which, you know, is going to, you know, put us in good stead. It comes at a cost, but so does everything. And I think the big thing is, you know, we need to generate more revenue, more income, and if you can't do that by getting people through the turnstiles, you have to be commercially better.
Obviously Chris is streaming this, so we have a few questions. We're grateful for those that have submitted questions that way. Talking of regarding the football and streaming, has the club liaised with the league and the FA regarding streaming activities for matches that follow their jurisdiction? And what assurances do the club have no regulations are being broken as part of that?
As far as I'm aware, I have no jurisdiction over individuals. Individuals tend to do what they want to do. You know, if somebody from the league or somebody complains or somebody wants to do it, it's the responsibility of the individual that is doing these things. I don't think that is a club issue. You know, we're not the police, are we? You know, we can't go around searching everybody and, you know, making sure that they're not doing what they shouldn't be doing. Ultimately, that's down to an individual.
Fair enough, obviously, that actually at this level it's not actually National League and above. There are criteria, but certainly not at this level, I believe, and obviously we do have documentary evidence for that. Given the numerous sides and age groups that fall under the umbrella of this club, obviously the youth setup, what safeguarding processes, practices do the club have in place to ensure that inappropriate relationships do not develop within the club, which could ultimately harm the club's reputation?
We have stuff from the league that Pat does in terms of the first team, and the youth team have their own committee and their own, you know, people that look after that side of things.
Match days. There's not many questions. We didn't run around the questions, unfortunately. How unfortunate. One or two said that. Yeah. Someone after me. I'll tell you, draw out with me. So, one or two. Somebody says there's been a few times gone down to the outside food outlet, and they have an issue with the. As I will says here, the foul language that comes out of there has been completely inappropriate. The person concerned didn't seem to care, apologised or alter their behaviour, even though there was young children around them. What could the club do to assure that person that it's a family-friendly place to come? Before you answer it, what I will say is, or ask, has that person complained to the club?
I always say that if anybody has any grievances or anybody has anything to say, put it in writing so we know who is making the complaint, the reasons behind the complaint, and it also gives traceability. I'm not interested in rumours, I'm not interested in gossip, I'm not interested in tickle-tackle, you know, and people get along or they don't get along. Everybody needs to conduct themselves properly, regardless of who they are or what they do. But I think, you know, there's certain things that you need to do and put it in writing.
Fair enough, yeah. I appreciate once I was a couple of incidents where I was stewarding before. A gentleman come up to me and obviously was having a grieve with the home fans, in the East Stand of course. You're a steward, mate, you need to do something about the swearing. Hold on here, what have you just said to me? Oh, this is just, you've sworn at me, so why am I should I go and say something to them? Yeah, so yeah, genuinely, yeah, if people do have a genuine complaint, it does need to be put in writing so that, like Paul said, it can be followed up. Post-match in the bar. We all like in the bar after post-match. Noted that one individual is allowed to kind of jump the queue, go behind and serve drinks towards, should I say, board members. Unfortunately, that's what the question said. Should that person not queue up with the rest of them?
If it means I get a drink quicker, no.
That'll be the answer. I'm not even going to write that one down, I'll tell you. Obviously, we're nearly there. League Sports, familiar name, has a home shirt sponsorship. Two questions about money again. Did you have to put the money in like any other sponsorship deal, or was that part of the kit supply deal for the whole club?
I think if people realise what finances have been put into this place, they wouldn't be asking any questions. You know, I'll never discuss finances of a personal nature. I don't think they need to be. The football club has been kitted out at no cost. I think in previous years it's always paid for its stuff, Barry, am I correct? And you can imagine the cost of 3 kits, tracksuit, the next thing, balls, equipment, whatever. You know, so it's cost the club nothing. And you know, if we could have sold that shirt sponsor to somebody, I would have gladly have taken that funds.
Thank you for that. That one. We did mention social media earlier, and yes, and like you said, it is some sections of social media, as I'm aware. I do dabble occasionally, they are a little side of hate, unfortunately, and negativity. One or two said they've been, it's probably not for you to answer this, or you're able to answer it properly. One or two supporters feel they've been victimised, their opinions have been witch-hunted for expressing opinions on social media. When the behaviour's been brought up and tried to be discussed, the responses have been, well, they haven't been favourable. The attitude being that they can do what they like, everyone else has to lump it. Well, it is everyone is allowed a personal opinion and it shouldn't be picked upon. as we're meant to be a community, we are a community club, where aside from the board, no one is above anyone else. How do you address that sort of issue?
I think the easiest thing to do is any official social media channel of the football club should have its settings where nobody can comment on anything. There's other unofficial forums, supporters forums, where people can all have their own opinions and, you know, say whatever they want to. We live in a world of free speech currently. How long that will last, we don't know. But from an official club social media point, those channels should simply be there to communicate news at the football club, not to have open discussions, because it's there for all to view. And the negative comments and the personal comments, and I've had some aimed at myself as well, you know, so you know, they're all uncalled for, unnecessary, and but if that's most people that do it are, like I say, they're almost like jilted lovers. They might have been involved in the club at some stage, no longer are. And, you know, like I said, in the world there are negative people, positive people. Any opinion can be aired and viewed. It's how you deliver it and how you put it across. But from an official point of view, I do believe that our social media channels shouldn't have comments. We don't need them. They're there for news. They're there for events. They're there to let people know things. You know, they're not there for people to spread mistruths, rumours, and all the rest of it.
Fully accept that. My employer, we have a sort of policy like that, as most employers should do. And one of the things there is they have a general one that was open to comment. It's primarily a news service, and they had to turn that off because they was getting so many negative comments. Final question I've got on this list, he says, as a businessman, you are very successful, rightly so. Do you think you've taken on too much to try to fix the on and off-field issues at the same time, especially with the club being where it is at the current time?
No, because I've just appointed a new manager. You know, I had no desire to be a football manager. I've done it for many, many years, and at my time of life, I don't want it. And that was never the intention. So, you know, I don't believe in being a gamekeeper and poacher. It doesn't work. I'm successful because I work hard, I'm successful because I'm diligent, and I'm successful because I make mostly the right decisions at the right time. You know, and I have a drive, and like I said, I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk.
Fair enough. Anybody, any other further questions from the floor? Thank you, Riley. The voice of reason is Riley. Well, once again, thank you, Paul. I think we've all survived moderately. Thank you, Dennis, as well. Just remind you, Dennis, you've not missed out. Got a little job for you.
No, we were going to, but I'm running behind for time, so
No, you tell me.
get you to do the lottery. You can do next. You can do New Year's Day.
No problem.
Oh, I dodged the bullet there, Dennis, again.
I'm gonna go off and be a date.
Don't forget, Ian's there, club shop's open, coins available, Christmas draw tickets available, and if you haven't already purchased them, you can purchase some more. Don't forget, Boxing Day, 3 PM, Christmas draw afterwards. If you have any prizes, donations, feel free to see Ian, remember to turn your tickets. Once again, thank you, Paul, thank you, Dennis, and Christmas Spirit, and thank you for attending.
Merry Christmas.
Mr. Barnes has just won the 200.
Oh.
Mr. Barnes.
Donated it back. Gutted.
Money to money. Money to money. Really, you're rubbish.
Oh, he's rooms here.
You're rubbish. Sorry. 593 says Alan Rock. No one is pressed the